Okay, so hi everyone. I'm pleased to have Banshul Garg here. Banshul was with us. In fact, he was sitting in where you are all sitting right now, right? So on the other side. So yes, Banshul, how does it feel? And you can tell us, generally about your journey. Of course, this is a batch. This time we've got quite a few people who got IIM Lucknow calls, and the interviews have already started.
Yes,
So
sir.
right, so 20th was the first one, and then 21st also a few people had. Now tomorrow also we have a few people, and then going on, it will go till, in fact, some of us have got in April also. So it is going to extend for these 3-4 months. So obviously, uh, is Vibha there? Uh,
Yes, sir.
oh, hi Vibha, hi. Oh, hi, good evening.
Hello, sir.
Welcome,
Good evening. Good
welcome,
evening,
welcome to the
everyone.
session. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good too. I'm doing good. Good to see you. How's it going? So we've got Banshu here. Sada is mentioned that she is stuck in some some. I mean, I think some she has to attend some meet or something, so she'll join a little later. So
Okay.
Banshu was telling us that right now you've got some 1 week kind of a relief period or something. You got
Yeah, so we have placements going on in college. So that's why there's
and
just academic
you
break.
got
Yeah.
your summer placement at which place?
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan. Okay. So Banshu is at Aditya Birla and you have JP Morgan. Great. So I was just laying the context here. So as you were on the other side last year, and now that the interviews have started, so obviously it will be very helpful for. And we've got quite a few IML calls this year, so it will be very helpful that you can just take us through your journey. Then what all your tips could be. What you've kind of been able to get from being inside that whole place. So uh, I leave it to both of you. You can share your experiences and just introduce yourself a little bit so that people can relate a little better. Go ahead.
Okay. Banshul, will you like to start?
Vibha, you go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Vibha and I'm from Calcutta. I completed my graduation in 2023, BCom honors from SRCC. I have also done my CA Intor and I'm also pursuing CFA currently. I am a PGP 1 student at IIM Lucknow and I'll be interning at JP Morgan at their Mumbai office this summer. And talking about my interview experiences, so IIM Lucknow was my best call last year. And also, I'm very grateful to Sir for making me take that up because, yeah, so with regards to tips and tricks, I would just say for interviews, it's very important that you know yourself and you know what you're talking about, and also to have a calm mind. So basically, what I tell people these days is always think of it that there'll be professors who will be interviewing you, and they are actually looking for candidates who can engage in conversations in classrooms. So that's the KT we got from our professors as well, that we look for people who can talk about stuff. And I think that's what is very important, that you have that skill to engage in conversations and just be passionate about whatever you believe in, and you have to portray that. So, yes, just be yourself, have a calm mind is something that's very important. Knowledge and all is important, but just being present in that moment is equally what will change things for you.
Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Sandeep sir for having me here. And my name is Banshul, and I'm from Gurgaon. And I've done my graduation from SGTB Khalsa College in economics. And thereafter, gave CAT, and Lucknow was also my best call, and I converted it. So thanks to Sandeep sir for that. And currently, I'm placed at Aditya Birla Group as a management trainee, and probably I'll also join their Mumbai office. So, my interview experience was certainly very different experience because I had some of the interviews scheduled in Feb as well and Jan as well. So, before giving my Lucknow interview, that was in March, I had many experiences of giving interview. So, it was like I was very prepared for it, but still the interview was very different. So the professors were not just testing on me on my knowledge, but also testing on me on my confidence. So basically, I like to highlight one thing that I was not able to answer consecutively 5 questions of my interview. So at that moment, I was like, "Ki, this is gone." But this is not done. The thing is, you just have to stick to your concepts and give answers based on those concepts. You just don't try to just hover around the bush. Just give the points that you are sure of. So this was my experience, and I would like to share one of my more tips uh, as we go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So just one question. So what you mentioned is very important here, that if you are not able to answer 5 questions at a stage, don't get nervous and don't let that derail the whole process, right? So you need to keep your confidence high, because something or the other is then bound to stick. So if you kind of start, because generally our tendency is that if we are not able to answer a few questions, then we start sulking, we start feeling low, and that affects the rest of the interview, right? So we need to keep our confidence. And so is it possible, so let's say, if let's say 5 6 questions at a trot on maybe a CADs, right? So can we kind of try to shift it around some way, or to maybe our area of strength, which could be maybe current affairs, or which could be, make them talk about the workings or something. So is does it happen, or I mean it's entirely in their hands?
So, sir, in my case, what happened was that they asked me questions upon the business of my father. So initially, I was able to answer 1 or 2 questions, but as we moved on, I was not able to answer many questions. So they asked me themselves only that what is the area that we should ask upon. So this helped me to gauge their interest toward my hobbies. So then onwards, my interview went there only.
Right. So that's what. So that's good. I mean, so that's a good lesson, that you don't feel depressed or low on confidence. Rather, try to turn it around. Yes, Vibha, what's your take on this particular issue?
So I would just like to share one incident. So in my IIM Lucknow interview itself, the professor was asking me something in the field of audit. He did ask me, like in most of the interviews, they'll ask you what is your favorite subject, and you need to brush up 2 to 3 subjects very nicely. So I mentioned subjects, and that one of them was not auditing, but he was continuously asking me questions on auditing, and I did get stuck because I was unaware about 1 or 2 terms. But then what I did was, it's very important that you know how to read the room. I realized that both the professors, what I also noticed was one of them had a novel around him, and another looked like a foodie because he was actually eating during the interview. So what I did was, I actually tried to steer the conversation towards my hobby instead of academic. So I said, okay, so he was asking me a question on auditing. I could not answer it, and then he said, okay, then so you have not studied auditing, it seems. Like, sir, I've studied it, but I've not brushed it up that well. I've lost touch. And I just said that, okay, I just pointed out, okay, you're reading this book. I've already read this book. So I think I got lucky in that sense. And the entire rest 10 minutes of the conversation went around, okay, what book do you like? Okay, who won the Booker Prize this year? So questions like that. And that actually worked in my favor. But it might not always work, because you never know. You need to learn to read the room. If it at times it happens that the professor is not really interested on talk. Like, I used to like talking about my bakery. In one of my interviews, it backfired. So it's very important that you learn how to steer that also. That, okay, this professor is not really interested in that space. So it's important that you steer it around to something else. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah, so that skill to develop a rapport, right? Or kind of see the vibes, how the vibes are coming. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Bantu, you were saying something.
Yes, sir. So I had one more point that for the introduction part, so I what I did was that I included a weird hobby of mine, that was watching crime documentaries. So sometimes it helps the candidate to gauge their interest towards them, because if you have a weird hobby, then it catches their interest. So in my interview as well, there was one professor. I think he was also into this hobby. So he was kind of very interested after hearing upon this, and almost 6 to 7 minutes of my interview went on this only.
Okay, great. So you kind of were like, Daya darwaja tod do. So you broke the door and entered IIM Lucknow, kind of. Okay, great. So, acha, oh, okay. It's a coincidence now that both of you are freshers, right? So let's say, what's the kind of ratio there of freshers versus, of course, these stats would be there, but I didn't go through them. So what's the ratio, and do you think that it's a bit of a disadvantage? What do you feel now? Okay, maybe initially you felt, I think, Vibha, we had a maybe chat or something conversation. You even mentioned that I feel at a disadvantage. In fact, you mentioned your LinkedIn profile also, or post also, I think. But Vibha is a very prolific LinkedIn contributor. I don't know how many of you are following her, but you should definitely follow if you are not, because she has some, she writes very beautiful pieces at times. I mean, you've been doing that for a long time, right? So,
Yeah, it's been a year around.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your take on, this fresher versus the experience thing over there? And does it kind of give you a disadvantage in the interview, or how does it go?
Okay, so from interview perspective, I don't think it was a disadvantage because what I heard from my batchmates is the ones who had work ex, they had difficulty in the ACAD section because they had lost touch. So I think that worked because we were in touch with our ACADs. But after coming here, initially maybe during summers or in classes, there are a lot of references with respect to, okay, this happens in the workplace or this is how this works in the corporates or something as simple as a payroll. So that's where I think it's a little difficult to relate to what the professors are saying because you don't have that experience. But otherwise, being a fresher, what I've also noticed is you have some very fresh ideas because once you have worked, what I noticed with my friends who have already had work experience was they have a fixed framework or fixed set of way to do things, and we are like that kachi mitti ki kaise we can mold ourselves. So I think that there are pros and cons both, but yeah, so
Yeah, yeah,
being
absolutely. So that's the plus point, right? So, but
So,
let
sir,
me ask you a question, right? Why we
I've
should
just a fun
yes.
fact. The answer that Vibha just gave, I copied the exact answer in my interview when the interviewer asked me that why should we prefer you over a WorkX candidate? So the exactly same lines I said over there.
Correct. So that's the fantastic line, and in fact, that can be used by everybody who feels that they're at a disadvantage, because obviously so. See, it is not that's why these institutes look for diversity, right? They are not looking for the same kind of people. So you bring in that perspective and relevance, right? So yes, Vanshul. So what's been your experience, in your whatever sphere you've experienced there with respect to the work ex people?
So, sir, I don't feel that freshers are at a disadvantage because during the summers also there were many companies who were prominently uh, preferring freshers over people. So this time I'm placed in Aditya Birla as well. So Aditya Birla Group, after I got placed, I got to know that their preference was hiring freshers only because they are coming up with new brands and they want some fresh minds for that. So it is not that WorkX people have an edge over us. It's just that some companies prefer freshers and some prefer WorkX people.
So that's a great input, because it's not just a talking point in the interview, but then actually also it is so. So people
Yes.
here can, whoever the fresher here can use this then and say that, we know that many companies prefer people without work instead of that. So we will add that value to the cohort, right? Okay, great.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay, yes. So that's a great way to look at it. Uh, Okay, so Vibha, and Banchul, okay, now that we've kind of talked about the interview and the stuff like that, you can kind of now throw some light on your experiences over there. What to expect, let's say, when somebody lands over there, maybe also in terms of let's say this time between when the one gets selected and one joins, how can one add value, or what they look for, what are some of the capabilities?
okay. So I think one thing that you cannot expect in an MBA is sleep because we are always sleep deprived, is what I feel. And it is a very rigorous course, that's for sure. There are I think I just got a call. Banshul, can you please take it up?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So So, for me, the first term was the most hectic one because at that time we have our summer placements as well, and we have to cope up with the rigorous curriculum as well. So I feel that the first term was the most rigorous one, and in that term I was hardly able to take 3 to 4 hours of sleep every day. So it sometimes become somewhat overwhelming, but overall it was a very nice experience because after I see myself here, I feel that I'm able to manage many things at the same time. So this will help me academically as well, but also mentally. So I don't get stressed about a lot of things easily because of that.
Right, right. Lakshita has a question. Yes, Lakshita? We,
Had a question. So, uh, personally, my academics were a weak point because of COVID and other reasons. I did not do very well in academics, and I sort of lost interest during my bachelor's. So, will that kind of bring the entire interview down? There are instances where I show a willingness to learn uh, in my workplace, let's say, but this aspect that my academics has consistently been on the lower side. How do I back it, or how do I get out of it?
just 1 second, just to understand your question a little more clearly.
Mhm.
You are talking about your low academic scores, or you're talking about currently your low academic, let's say, being hands-on on the academics, which is one, you're both, you're talking
Both.
both. Okay. Fine. वो करेला और वो भी नीम चढ़ा जैसे बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में. ठीक है. Yes, Vibha, so I'll let you take that.
Okay, so if you get a call, I would always say you just need one call to convert. So if you get a call, then you have an equal chance of converting. Yes, weightage and all is there, but I remember my CAT percentile was not that great that I was sure of converting. But yes, I did convert it in the first list because my interview went very well and I had very good marks in the interview. Now, with regards to ACADS, I have a lot of batchmates who even had a back in their undergrad, and they are actually placed at very good companies right now. So, willingness to learn and all is fine. Don't just show, you need to believe in that as well and work on that. And yes, ACADS is very important. So, having low CAT scores in interviews, they might ask you that, okay, what might be the reason? And I think SIR is very good in helping you frame that answer, but it's very important that you have a good reason to justify that. And also, if you have lost touch with the cats, that's not an issue because we have a lot of engineers here as well who have no prior experience of commerce and they actually perform better in the finance subjects. So here we also learn things from scratch, even if we have read any subject, but it's all working again from scratch. So that's not going to be an issue as such.
There's another question here for you. How low is low? It's we asked. So, I mean, I don't think that there is any benchmark for being low. I mean, see, even if for that matter, it's a very subjective thing, right? Some professor might even consider 9 as low, or some might consider, even a 7 as okay. So it depends. But low is, I mean, so I think one has got to have. So I think we will take it up on a case to case basis that how do we, what are some of the other things that can help you camouflage that, right? Or kind of cover that up, because obviously I mean, you cannot be a perfect 10 in everything. So we will have to figure that out, right? Okay, all right. So now what I'll also do is let people ask some more questions if they have. Um, if anyone has any question, you can always put it up. Uh, See, this is a great learning opportunity. So as I had mentioned in the morning also, that you should, whatever questions you have, you can ask. Some of you are going to face, I think, this IIML interview very soon. So if you have any questions, you can definitely ask these two stalwarts.
Right. So I have a question. Essentially, in the why MBA question, would you suggest specifying it more and basing it more on the, like, let's say the institute that you're giving the interview for, or would you maybe frame a, let's say, a general based answer?
I'd like to answer to this. So, according to me, for the YMB answer, what I did was that I framed a overall story so that at what point of my life my interest generated towards MBA. So, After that, I connected that story with the college specific answer. So a general answer won't help much, but I think that the general story combined with the story that you have made up for the college would help.
Got it. But like, let's say if you mention maybe some pointers, let's say if you're mentioning some fest or anything, particularly, let's say if I'm giving the interview from IML, I'm mentioning something in IML that I am excited about in my YMBA. Wouldn't it lead to, let's say, like, could it not lead to a lot of questions about the institute and maybe something which should not know? So is it like safe to mention that?
So I'd just like to say, I think FEST should not be a criteria for
Yeah, no, like fest was an example, like anything related to the college.
Yeah, so I think it's always better if you do your homework and your research. If you know about the college, it always helps. So what I did was I talked to any people I knew in Lucknow as to what really happens, what are the societies, CCAs there, and what sort of professors are there, the famous professors, the famous places, the famous courses offered. So things like that. So you are expected to do your homework and research about the institute that you are interviewing for. And they would ask you max till a level 2 because they also know that you are not yet a student. So till level 2, you should be knowing about the institute. And by level 2, what I mean is the first upar ka you should know and what other next question can come from that. So till that level, you should be knowing about that institute.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got a question from Sushant. What were your answer for not working for a year or two and rather going for an MBA right now? Did they ask you this question?
So, Banchul is a fresher, but I graduated in 23. So, they did ask me whether I had a gap year or not. So, I was actually pursuing my CA articleship, and that's not counted as WorkX. So, that was my answer as to what I did in that 1 year. So, I did mention that I was pursuing my articleship. But I know people who have 4 or 5 years of gap here. They were preparing for UPSC, or some people were there in the army as well. So you need to justify your answer and believe that okay, you utilize your time well and you don't regret your decision. You should not show any regret in any interview. You should be proud of your decisions and you should be able to justify them.
Yeah, so I mean that's what I've also heard from many people, and at all kind of institutes, even including IIM Ahmedabad also, that there are people who've been on a sabbatical or on a break for a couple of years, and then they've come back and they've been able to justify, they've been able to explain. See, it is basically where you are headed, and how can you talk about that time that you utilize. That's more important rather than just simply uh, having that 1 year, right? So I hope that uh, helps.
So I had a point in addition to this question. So what I did was that I was interested in marketing from starting only. So I knew that companies prefer freshers for marketing roles. So I included this point in my answer that being a fresher, it would be easy to for me to get a marketing role. So this was one point, and the other point that I had for this answer was key. Currently, I am in a flow of studying mode only because once people get into jobs, the flow of studying gets a bit disturbed. So these were two main points that I added in my answer.
Okay, so there is another question which if you can help answer. I'm a fresher with a consulting job right now. What if they say that why don't you continue with your consulting via MBA right now? So how would, let's say, based on your experience, how would you answer this? I mean, any of you. Of course, I would surely help the person to. And I think I've maybe discussed this. I think not with Sushant, but with Saksham. Yes, yes. So any thoughts from two of you?
I think the answer that Banshul gave, that you will be in that flow and later you things can get static, is a good enough answer. But apart from that, I know there are around 4 or 5 people in my class who graduated and they have only 4 or 5 months of work ex in consulting. But they did switch to MBA because they said that uh, you can frame answers like, okay, while I was working, I realized that I need to know more and there will be better roles after you do an MBA. So that way you can modify your answer and say, if you want to go for an MBA, you have to show that determination that yes, MBA is the right fit for me right now. They just want to see that yes, you're actually interested and that's what matters.
See, the point again, I mean, just to reiterate Vibha's point, that they will, of course, try to throw you off track. They will try to counter your question. No, no, I think you are doing a wrong thing. Are you really sure? You got a great thing going. Why don't you continue? So they will try to throw you off track, but you have to hold your ground. So you have to be very clear, right? This is what I want, and this is the only way that I think that I can achieve where I want to go, or what I want to achieve, right? So, okay, there's another question here which has come up. In marketing, do most jobs start with sales on ground role only, or there are other alternatives as well? And for SIPs as well as they are solely sale based. So the question is that marketing, as we know, even if a company like HUL or somebody hires, they put you first on the sales, on the ground. So let's say, Anshu, you are getting into marketing and you got this role with Aditya Birla. So would you like to take this about marketing?
So yes, sir. So there is not a specific answer to this, but I would say that companies of both the suits are coming. So some of the companies that want you to go on ground and do the groundwork first, and then they put you to the senior most positions. So companies of that sort are also coming, and the companies whom directly appoint you to a management role are also coming. So it depends upon the company with which you are interning. So in my role, I don't have a on ground role. That's I think depends upon the company as well.
Okay. So yes, so some companies they will put you in a sales role first and then let you come to the headquarters for marketing roles, whereas some companies will take you for marketing directly, right? Okay, great. So I hope that answers the question. Yes, any other question that anyone else has? Couple of few last questions as uh, we need to relieve these two. So, okay, is there any question? No, it seems fine. So that's good.
Yes, sir, I have one question.
Please go ahead, Akshay.
Yeah, so what if someone has lost touch with their academics because of their work ex? So are the questions directed more towards work ex then, or are they still directed towards the CADs? And second is, if they're still directed towards the CADs, would they be asking questions in depth or detail? Because I've completely lost touch with my BTech, and it would be difficult for me to again get in that touch back.
So for WorkX, they'll mostly have questions around WorkX only. And I think around 60% would be around WorkX, and not just direct questions from your WorkX, but mostly what have you done, what have you learned, and HR-based questions as
Situational questions
yes,
also, right?
situational HR-based questions.
Yeah.
And ACADS, so for BTech also what I would say is you need to brush up on 2 to 3 subjects of your choice. And there are high chances, like in most interviews that I faced, I think in all of them, they asked me my favorite subject, and that's what I've heard from other people on campus as well. But there might be chances that they would ask you something apart from what you have studied or not your favorite subject, but they would also be not too detailed. But the subjects that you mentioned, if the professor is also proficient in that, then you can expect a level 2, level 3 depth question there.
Okay, great. Yes, Swarnav.
Yeah, so I have a question. So during interview, means if I face some current affairs question and if I don't know the exact answer of it, so how should I manage at that time?
So for that, first of all, if you don't know even the basic structure of the answer, you can say sorry to them because that's the most safe answer that you can say. But if in case you are not sure of the answer, but you know some of the points, then you can say in the initial phase only that it's just a I'm just guessing or can I guess. So you can start by start your answer like that. Can I guess? Give it a guess, or can I give it a shot?
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough
हेलो
way to put it. Yes.
मैं भी आ रहा हूँ बस
All right. Yes. So I think that answers the question that you need to kind of make it very clear that I'm not very sure. However, I would like to try. So if they say fine, then you go ahead and you've hedged your bet, right? Okay, great. So I think that will be all, Vibha and Banshul. Really thankful that you take time, and that too at a very short notice, because I somehow forgot to send you a message earlier. I had planned, but then today morning I thought, let me get you, because some of our students have got interview even tomorrow. So, right, Saksham has interview tomorrow. I think Arman also has tomorrow. So it's great to kind of have you in front of them. I'm sure they would have got a lot of confidence talking to you, and really thank you so much. And I appreciate you all being there and saying some good things about me. Even I don't know how much of that I deserve, but yes, I try my best. So I hope you will have many of this year's batch to rag next year, right? If you at all rag in this year. All right. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I think this looks like a full circle moment. Last year, you had invited people and we were listening to them, and this felt really nice. And all the best to everyone as well, whoever has their interviews. Just trust yourself and yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Banshul and Vibha. Have a great night. Good night ahead. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir, for having us here. Thank you.